They caught me slipping. Yes, you caught me slipping. My headset was not plugged in. Not at all. But greetings, folks. How are you today? Happy New Year. Happy first Friday of the year. Glad that you decided to spend a little time with the ladies and chit chat with us. We do appreciate that. And how are you, Miss Classy Classic?
Well, I am very well, thank you very much. And apparently a tiny bit more prepared than you were this Friday because my mic and everything was all plugged in advance. Uh,
Oh, well.
I know, right? No, but for real, I'm doing good. I still feel like 2020 is going to be a new year. Sure, we're going to have, struggles and whatever, but I feel like the energy or the stars or whatever are aligned differently, and this year is going to be a different, better, brighter year. So, fingers crossed, we're going to have that in some aspect of life.
Okay.
Hold on, let me
Well,
knock on some wood real quick too. All right, yeah.
well, it's starting off to be a good Friday. I have my wine and I have my hand cut fries with black pepper. And
Nice.
I'm feeling it over
Mm,
here.
mm.
Mm-hmm.
Jealous. Jealous.
Mm-hmm. I'm just as proud to be munching. Oh, yeah. This
Mm,
is Friday. You lay back, relax, be
mm-hmm.
yourself.
Oh, sounds so good. Sounds so good.
Yeah, but it's open topic. I might have mentioned it, I may not have mentioned it, but for Friday, because it is, I don't know, how would you say it? Not a spinoff, not a replacement. alternative, I guess, to
Continuation, maybe.
okay, it's a continuation, and so it's open topic on Fridays, and that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Saturday, I have it a little bit set differently because that's when I first started. It was just going to be a Saturday thing, and I had to have something to talk about. So I always have something in the news or something I'm thinking about, something I saw or whatever, and I chit chat. So that way, it's just no silence, just waiting for someone to show up. So I guess you could say it's formatted a tad bit on Saturdays, but Fridays open topic, same thing. Come on, join the fun.
Mm-hmm. And fun it will be. It's 2020. Let's stir up some noise up in here. Come on, y'all. You know you want it. You want to click on the link. You want to come up. You want to let us know something in 2020. You know you do.
Well, I'll get started because I'm always starting something. Um, I want to be starting something. I
I
got
swear
to
the
be
song was in my
starting
head.
something. I
Yes.
want to be starting something. I got to be starting something. Too high to get over,
Yeah,
too
yeah.
low to get under,
Yeah, yeah.
stuck in the middle,
Yeah,
and the pain is thunder.
yeah. I love how that worked out because my head went right to that song too. So I was so happy when the next sentence out of your mouth was still the song. I was like, yes, yes, we're doing it.
See, when I mention something, I have a just one point or something I want to talk about. Like, let's say, let me see if I can recall something that happened. Too many stories in the news, but like the story that um, I mentioned with the planning of the death, the guy, the veteran, he was ill and he might have had it where he wrote out everything so the wife wouldn't be, caught up in anything because he actually died from, being sick.
Mm,
And he had it set up where, you know, hey, baby, don't worry about it. Things are happening. I want you to, keep getting the money so you have something, you know. So instead of reading the whole article, talking about all of that, I just wanted to point out that one thing. So that's how it is with me. I don't go
right.
through well, I'll read the whole article for myself, but I only bring up the point of what I want to talk about. So if anyone has any complaints, I don't know what to tell you, but that's my style. I just want to point out one particular thing of an article. I'm probably going to start putting the links in case you guys would want to read it yourself. Or if you
Mm.
ask in the chat room, I'll provide the link in the chat room or after the show. So that way you're like, oh, that's what she was talking about. I wanted to know some more about that. It'll be right there for you. So just request.
All right. I know I personally like to read along, kind of follow along
Mhm.
too. I don't know. It helps me keep the details straight so I'm not wasting your time asking you about stuff you just said 2 seconds ago cuz I'm following the story. So yeah. It's a good idea.
Yeah, some people want to know a little bit more, and I understand that everyone has their style. And for me, sometimes I just focus in one thing, and I just want to point that out, ask a question, and I'm good with it. So that's
Mhm.
just my style. In case you're wondering, well, something else to the story. It was more to the story, but I didn't want to concentrate on it, and that's just my style. So just to let you know, in case you're wondering, that's all.
Nice. Okay. That makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah. So I'm going to start something like that because I want to be starting something.
Got to be starting something.
Oh yeah, and and I was reading about let me see, a fortune teller, if you will, and I'm reading this little news article about this fortune teller, and they're going to say that the woman stole money from this woman, um, So I stopped at the word stolen. I'm like, okay, so what? She went to her house and went to her bank account. I mean, how did she steal money?
Right.
So I'm reading the story and everything, and what it was, the woman went to this house, this tarot card reading woman, and gave her some money, and the fortune teller told her that her daughter, her 10-year-old daughter, was possessed and had this demon in her or whatever, and she'll be able to get rid of the demon.
Oh Lord.
And I'm like, oh, okay, all right, sounds all right, okay so far. But the woman spent over $70,000 giving it to the fortune teller.
Oh. Mm.
So now things didn't work out for her. Now she says, the woman stole her money. Well, I'm going to have to disagree with the word stolen.
Mm-hmm.
She did not steal her money.
Nope.
She did not. Now, what she did do, yeah, she conned her, fooled her. I even use the word manipulated her, but she decided that's what she was interested in, and that's the route she wanted to go to get this supposed demon and her daughter. So,
Mm-hmm.
at $10,000, the demon wasn't gone. You kept going. You know, yeah, because I don't know how much it costs, and I didn't have time to check it out. Because I was getting my when I got off work, I had to go get my hand cut fries. But anyway,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have time to check it out, but I plan to. What's the going rate of you know because I don't know. You because
Sorry.
I don't know.
No. I I
I mean,
couldn't
I don't know.
even start to hazard a guess. Like the thing is, in my experience, and I'm
Hmm.
not Catholic, but I have heard of people who claim they seen a demon in someone and they cast it out. They didn't charge nobody anything for this service. It happened. Oh, we prayed and we blah blah blah. We tarried in the spirit, and eventually they cast out this demon or whatever. Point is, it's done, out of goodwill and not so much as a fee. So if you are charging,
Hmm.
to me, charging a lot of money would seem to be kind of like the ungodly thing to do. And it would seem to me that if you're able to cast out demons, that you would kind of have to be a godly person. Um, so, I mean, I don't know. I don't know because at the same time, I know that America is all about getting that money, though, for everything in ways that Canadians
Hmm.
don't. So, I don't know if my perception's a little undervaluing this service of demon exorcism. And
Hmm.
maybe it's worth money. I don't think it's worth the down payment on a house. Now, yes, your eternal soul is worth way more than that. I get that. But if we're being real, really, really real, okay,
Hmm.
it was very unlikely that this girl had a demon in her, period. Whoever this is knew that, took advantage of this paranoid freak, who was attributing normal childhood behavior to a demon,
Hmm.
and hustled her for as long as she keep funneling money. She'll keep doing the foolishness that's going to remove the demon that's not really there, which is why the behavior will continue, because it's not a demon. It's called children rebelling and acting out. So I too object to the word stealing. No one stole anything from you. You didn't go to her for behavior modification. You went to her to remove a demon. Now, for all you know, your child had 100 demons and all of them were removed. It just had nothing to do with the behavior you were trying to stop. It's very subjective, this demon removal. So prove it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, fitness mom, you have any idea what's the going rate of removing demons? Because I like to hear it. I'm gonna Google it tomorrow. I'm definitely gonna Google it because I like to know what's the cost of removing demons. 'Cause that could be something else. I can supplement my income with. since I don't have a pension. You know,
Right?
Well, I
you
don't
know.
know the going rate of removing a demon, but I do know of many people who believe in that and will actually go through extreme lengths for that cause.
Hmm. I would know the amount because I would.
I mean,
I'm a
like
man.
some people go extreme for demon removal and stuff like that.
Okay, because I charge less money than the average. Because the way I look at it, if I can get two customers for the price of one, I'll do that because I'll get more business that way.
Especially in the South. Like you could probably make a good killing for demon removal in like Louisiana, somewhere like that, maybe Florida. There's certain parts of like maybe Alabama and Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
But
You
what's
know,
the going rate though?
see, I'm happy that Shadra's here though, because earlier we were talking about what's it called? The placebo effect. And that's what this is. This is what it comes down
Hmm.
to is what price can you put on a placebo? Now, the problem is the placebo effect cannot work secondhand. That is to say, if mama who's spending tens of thousands of dollars believes it, but the kid doesn't believe it, or doesn't want it, or whatever, it's not going to work because it's a placebo. So if I think I have a demon and I paid you $150,000, that trust me, my demon will be gone, right? It's a placebo. So what is the cost? What's the going rate of the placebo effect? I mean, shoot, $100,000. I mean, I feel like that's a little much. I feel like the church probably is not going to charge you more than 10 grand. Like the Catholic Church. I'm sure that they still do exorcisms, they do them
Yeah,
down low. Yeah, they do, right? Okay. So I'm going to say the church, the Catholic Church would not charge you more than 10 grand. So I think more than 10 grand is you're being overcharged
Okay.
severely.
Okay. So let's say
I
10 grand.
know Christian churches charge like a couple of hundred.
Oh, so
See?
you do have a price. See, I knew you knew something. I knew you were gonna tell me. Okay, so a couple of hundred. I'm gonna round mine up to $300. You said a couple of hundred. I'm gonna say $300. Okay, so I'm still gonna Google it. But the thing is, the word stolen. After I don't know what happened because they never give you the details. She was embarrassed about it, whatever happened, and then she went to the police. Well, they arrested the woman, but of course they let her out. They just said, "Hey, we're gonna give you some charges. Come back, go to court, and that's it." Nothing's gonna happen with that woman. I already know that. Nothing.
Nope. Don't even have a civil case. Sorry. What criminal action did she? Listen, it is not criminal for someone to voluntarily give you money. That's why these scams that they run on old people are so devastating, right?
Hmm.
Because a lot of them, your money's not retrievable because ultimately, even if someone guaranteed you something to some extent, if that thing was subjective and you handed over your money without some type of written agreement, it's incredibly hard to prove that the person who accepted your money that you gave freely did something wrong. And so people get scammed out of things like their pensions and their life savings over stuff like this, right? And this is why, because it's not theft. It's not grand larceny for someone to say, "Yeah, I removed demons. Prove I didn't." That is the thing. It's like you pay what are those people called, the fortune tellers, right? You pay them to tell
Hmm.
your fortune, right? And they tell you some vague bullshit. And even if they give you something really specific, if it never comes true, can you go back and sue them? Nope. Doesn't matter how
Nope.
much they charge you per minute for you to talk to them, even if they don't know what they're talking about. Even if it didn't really actually help you, but now you're stuck with a bill for $1,000. It's too bad. They offered a service that's incredibly subjective, and you paid for an incredibly subjective service. So you're going to get an incredibly subjective result. And that's what it is. You were willing to pay $70,000 for a very, very subjective result because you can't see, touch, and feel a demon. So how will you know when it exits the body of your child? I want to know how did she know? What was it? Was it like sexual interest in a boy? Like what was the thing that she was sure was a demon in her kid, and how did she know for sure it didn't work? I want to know those details.
Exactly. And of course, they hid the woman's face, no name, no nothing. See, these are
Mm-hmm.
the type of stories that I would do. I'm going to dig deep. I'm going to find out your name, what you look like, and I can get some answers. And
Right.
the child is 10 years old. Okay. My other question I had was, well, where's the father?
Mm.
Well, obviously, he's not going to be the kind of man that's around because a man with common sense wouldn't procreate with a woman who's casting demons or paying people to cast demons out their child.
Who knows? But these are some things, some questions that I would have. I would like to know, after the first $10,000, why did you keep going? Did you know they had a discount down at the church down the street? You didn't know that? You didn't hear about it?
Mm.
Did you share with a friend? Did you let them know? I'm just kind of curious. What's going on? What kind of work does this woman do that she
Because
gave
I
us
mean,
$70,000?
this woman obviously is not fully functioning completely in the head.
Mm.
So, I mean, whoever she was with had to see signs of something like this. You can't just have this kind of level of crazy that
Mm,
adult that you're paying all this money for demon possession.
actually, you actually can. You actually can. But like I said, I need to know. I got questions. I want to know.
See,
Just
here.
like look at. Oh, go ahead.
No, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say just like if you go into a casino and you put your money in a slot machine or whatever, and you keep playing, keep playing. To what point does it become that machine's fault and not your fault? You know?
Exactly. And see, this is the thing with generally faith healers as a general whole, right? Yes, we take the demon thing to be something different, but that's in essence what it is. It's faith healing. So you would have to make a case that any and all faith healers who supposedly healed someone and then they weren't really healed, you can sue all of those people and win. And I'm positive that people have tried. I
Hmm.
can't remember the case that I'm thinking of in my head, but I'm positive people have tried and have lost because again, it's subjective. You can't. You're gonna sue a doctor for not healing you. You're gonna sue a doctor. They gave you medication that's supposed to heal your heart, didn't heal your heart. Do you get to sue them now and win? You don't.
Hmm.
That's the thing. And this would be under healing. And so healing is a thing. She could easily claim, well, shoot, man, these treatments are really expensive, time consuming, and whatever. And we didn't do enough of them before she discontinued treatment. And that's why the demon's still there.
Right.
Prove
And
her
then
wrong.
another $30,000 when we got to $100,000, the demon would have been gone. But she stopped and went to the police. Uh,
Right.
uh,
Prove her wrong.
you're
This
right.
there's no objective measure. Prove her wrong. And see, but I think to an extent though, because I'm gonna go on the opposite side and say let's pretend that 100% I agree this is a real thing. Okay.
Mhm.
Well, it is what it is. I might think your service is overpriced. Well, it's up to me to then go price shopping. I might not like the fact that you didn't originally. It's kind of like me going in for plastic surgery. They tell me it's $10,000 for my new boobs. Um,
Mhm.
and then when I get in there on the day, they tell me, oh, well, if I wanted this, it was going to be extra this. And if I wanted this, it's going to be extra this. And if I want this, it's going to be extra this. And so now I'm actually really paying 25,000 and I'm all disappointed. And so I go ahead and have to pay $25,000 for the new boobs. And then I'm mad after the fact and I want to sue for the extra $15,000 I didn't know was going to be charged to me until after it got charged to me before they put the boobs in. So I had a choice at every given point to walk away. And that's what it comes down to. This woman had a choice before she ever exchanged money, before she continued to exchange. She had a choice about what she was going to choose to believe, and whether she was going to believe that this person was doing the right job, whether this service was priced appropriately, whether she should be shopping around. She could have done so many different things. There are so many different people who do this kind of stuff. There really are. And from a variety of different religions and sects of faith and Christianity and whatever. So it's not like she was stuck with just the one. She chose to stay stuck with that one. She chose to have $70,000 ripped off. She chose all these things. And when you make stupid choices, it can't be anyone's fault but your own. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, and she blamed the tarot card reader, went to the police and said she stole my money. And I'm like, that's not true.
I
Nope.
can
And the
help
fact
you
that you all write it that way is crazy.
now.
Mm-hmm.
I can help you get that job. I just found an article that I'm gonna link in the thing. Apparently, the Vatican is holding exorcist training.
Uh-oh,
Nice.
watch out now.
Nice.
All right.
Well, you better
Free
be careful
classes.
because I was just looking it up and I saw something like 1,500 child abuse cases attached to exorcism.
Yes,
Um,
there's a lot of child death attached to exorcisms too. But I sent the link in the chat about that, about the whole. Apparently, the Vatican is offering exorcist training.
Mm. All right.
I love people sometimes. I do. Yeah. No, because see, the thing is, and this is why I had my original opinion, right? Because my mom, I mean, she doesn't do it as much anymore, but my mom used to, anytime I was angry, she would plead the blood of Jesus Christ on me, right? Which would just make me angrier, what didn't give the effect she wanted. Because it's almost like a shaming tactic in a way, because what it is she doesn't like the fact that I'm angry at her reasonably. And rather than deal with why I'm angry at her, maybe she's just acting like, well, there's no way I could reasonably be mad at her because she's the most perfect person in the world. So therefore, it must be some demon. So she's going to plead the blood of Jesus Christ on it, in the hopes of making the evil demon spirit go away. Because if it wasn't the evil demon spirit, there's no reason why we would be disagreeing. It's not because she disrespected my home, my space, my privacy, my whatever it is, and so I'm reasonably upset. No. That can't be it. It must be a demon spirit because otherwise she's perfect. Wait, what? No, that doesn't logically make sense. But see, she would do that. And I've noticed that with that parent-child relationship. Some people with this whole Christianity thing, they get it into their heads that life would be perfect, and if it's not perfect, it's a demon. No, there's a lot of things you're not going to like in life that have nothing to do with demonic spirits. We need to learn how to cope.
Well, I'm not going to that class. I'm just going to go and just start saying, Mama say, Mama Saku, Makusa. Charge my money and go. That's what I'm going to do.
Mama say, Mama.
That's what I'm going to do. How about that?
So y'all want to hear some tea, some kind of ghettoish tea? But I feel that we can talk about the topic, not just the tea, but the topic as a whole. You know what I mean?
Okay.
All right, some allegedly tea. I'm ready for the allegedly tea. I've been waiting for it all night.
So I'm not saying names, but I'm going to give some hits that everybody's going to know who names we're talking about, though, right?
Okay.
So allegedly, a man who's been going around talking about his past business partners and their business dealings was doing something on the low back in the day. Now, I mean, he's very famous and he's sort of becoming infamous now because, he likes to talk about the past and his big pimp is spinning cheese days, if you know what I mean. But he doesn't big pimp or spin cheese anymore these days because of a falling out he had with his ex-partner. Well, the tea was for this whole time, all the time, everybody used to say that a certain ex-partner of his was always messing with a certain colored animal, and while she was underage and everything, right? So this certain colored animal used to rap and do all kind of things. And she was like 16, 17 years old. And everybody was like, that's how this partner got big, by messing with the colored animal. But it turns out that people are saying that it was the guy who's running his mouth all the time that was really messing with the colored animal, and that the partner was protecting the colored animal from the guy who's running his mouth all the time now. Now, the thing about it is, people are coming out saying these things because, the guy that's running his mouth was talking badly upon R. Kelly and said how R. Kelly shouldn't be doing all these things while he was still, doing the same things with the colored animals and a couple of other people. So everybody was like, well, isn't that kind of, like how he gonna open his mouth and say what this guy's doing when he was doing the same thing? So what do you think about hypocrites? How do y'all feel about hypocrites?
I'm kind of used to it, but that's all I can say on that.
I'm kind of used to it. I'm not. Being real, I'm not used to hypocrisy. I know it sounds young or naive or gullible of me or whatever, but I'm not used to hypocrisy. I will never be able to get used to it because to me it doesn't make sense. Now let's say, okay, so I'll put me in a situation, right? So let's say I'm the kind of girl who goes to Shoppers Drug Mart and I like, oh, sorry, y'all don't have that. I go to the drugstore and I like to steal mascara when I go to the drugstore. So it's my guilty pleasure. I steal mascara. And then this big YouTuber, she's got a daughter, and that daughter gets caught for shoplifting mascara from the drugstore. Same drugstore, same mascaras that I'm stealing, right? Now, if everyone else starts putting down that YouTuber and that YouTuber's daughter, oh, that petty thief, that's so pathetic, blah, 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 right? There's only two things I would do in that case. Number one, now I'll tell you, I probably wouldn't, and I understand why people wouldn't. I'm not gonna sit there and go expose myself. I'm not trying to make myself look bad, right? Okay, fine. So there's two things I would do. I would either shut my damn mouth, shut up, don't say anything, or I would be generous with my response. That is to say, I would try to use the same reasoning that I actually have for my bad behavior. I would give that person the same credit at the very least, right? So I would say, well, I mean, maybe some people use theft as a stress relief, and we all have guilty pleasures in life, and maybe we gotta look like, is the YouTuber's daughter, is she a type A type of person? Is she under a lot of stress and pressure? Blah blah blah. I would be that one because I would not feel right walking around and demonizing this girl for something I do. Right. And I would also feel very paranoid about it, to be honest with you. So not only would I think it's wrong, but I would feel very paranoid about it because I would feel at any moment that now the axe could chop off my head next. And I wouldn't have a leg to stand on because I already said that people like me are this, that, and the next thing. So it doesn't make sense to me. Even if it's something very shameful or criminal, or shut your mouth then. Just don't speak. You could just not speak. You don't have to be a hypocrite. You don't have to be the loudest person, anti this and anti that, when you know that you live that life.
And the crazy thing about it is nobody asked him anything. He volunteered the information. He volunteered his thoughts on the situation and how nasty he thought that the guy was, even though he's been notorious for it. But nobody knows about that because his skeletons from the past didn't come out, because he also happens to be the only one talking about his past. Mm-hmm. And everybody else is like, you're not important as you think you are. But yet still here he is talking about anything and everything that anybody and everybody has ever done while he's got this past. So that's why I'm like, that makes it like, why? Why are you talking about this stuff that nobody asked you about when you've done it,
Mm-hmm. To bring up studies, right? And I'm not trying to have the discussion itself about this. It's just that I know that they've done studies on this type of hypocrisy. Um, so they've actually done studies. People who are arrested for let's be clear here, homophobic behavior, which includes gay bashing, going out of their way to go downtown to where the gay people are so you can beat them up, so you can do, write homo and faggot on people's things and whatever. Um, People who do that, they are actually found in studies to have very strong sexual responses to gay porn, and to suggestions of gay sex, right? And so they are, and again, right? So you look at the situation, same thing. It's not that it confronted them. They went out of their way to go find gay people to beat up, to go find gay people to go harass and call, names to, and all of that stuff. And they are the ones, these people who are volunteering this behavior, be volunteering hate and aggression and whatever, going out of their way to go find it because that's what they want to do with their Friday night. They're the ones who are showing the highest responses of actually having gay thoughts and feelings. And so now, a lot of this research that has been done, right? And again, this is tied specifically to actual homophobia, where people are so angry and violent and hateful. We're not talking about anything else, just that, right? Now, when they've tied that together, what they've noticed is this, right? There's a lot of internal fear and self hate, self aggression that is happening in a way. And so these are actually ways for these people to basically beat up themselves and to hate on themselves for their own thoughts and feelings. Right. But since they can't effectively beat themselves up, this is the next best thing. So I would say that, in a situation like this, you're chasing, if it's about chasing, young girls and, stuff like that, well, that behavior is not right. You probably do really think that guys who do that are trash. You think that you're trash for doing it. You've got a problem. You're sick. You need help, but you're doing it anyway. And so you being able to go out and volunteer the kind of disdain and disgust and whatever, even though no one asked you. Yeah, it sounds to me like that's what you're doing. You're doing the exact same thing. You are volunteering this information to basically beat yourself up because you're garbage and you're trash too.
That's what I will agree with that, because I mean, it's too much. And the thing is, a lot of the things that person talks about just so happens to be things that he is responsible for or he has done. So I think a lot of maybe this whole thing that he's this whole what I don't even know what to call it, because he's been on it for years now. Maybe this all is just him being mad at himself.
Yep. And see, that's the thing. A lot of people, again, with this hypocrisy and whatever, we don't like to claim our faults. I mean, this is one where it's criminal and it's depravity and people will hate you, right? But even if it's not something like that, like we don't like to claim our faults in general, right? We aren't taught, I will say, just as a greater community, that there's strength in admitting to your weaknesses or admitting to your flaws or admitting to when you're wrong. We're not really taught that. And so because we're not taught that, we're almost taught the opposite. Whereas you're weak to be wrong, you're weak to be flawed, you're weak to, have no self-control or whatever. So it's weakness for you to admit to any of it because you shouldn't have any of it anyway, because everyone else doesn't. It's just you. And so I think we walk around with this kind of flawed perception about, the world and weakness and what is actual strength and what is actual strength of character.
I think you bring up some very great points. And I think that we can find that a whole lot in today's society with a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm.
So I was also listening to another piece of gossip that we might want to talk about the whole general theme on, in case.
Mm-hmm.
What do we feel, or how would you feel about, not saying that it's right or it's wrong, but if someone's partner ill, not able to function fully, would you feel right being the third?
Third?
What do you mean?
Yeah,
Like
I'm
say
confused.
a man was going through some kind of chemotherapy or some kind of bad treatments where he wasn't allowed to perform certain duties anymore, and the couple was like, we're looking for someone to pitch hit. Would you be? I mean, what would you think about the person that fills in the spots that may be needed, if you know what I mean?
For
Okay.
me or for him? I'm sorry, I kind of blanked out. It was a
Okay.
bit much.
For either, like if
Okay.
the husband
Either, gotcha.
needs somebody to pitch it for him, or the wife needs someone to pitch it for her, like whoever needs to pitch it for whatever in that situation, how would you feel, or what would you think about someone who actually was to step into that role? You know,
Um,
it's got me thinking about it because of the whole what happened with I don't want to, because I think it's a sad situation, but I don't want to use her specifically as the example because to me her situation is a little more sad. I'm talking about someone who's mentally aware of what's going on though. But like how B Simone, not B Simone, I forgot her name. I think that might be her name. But she has Alzheimer's and her husband now takes care of her, and he has his girlfriend that lives with them.
oh, okay.
Remember anything? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But what if instead of someone that doesn't remember like her, what if it was someone who was fully on board with this? You know?
Mm.
Okay, well, my thing is if he's able to function and he wants, that is, if if that's your question, I'm not able to function for him, and that's what he wants. Uh, I don't even know. I get it,
Mm.
but I'm not understanding what we're going to discuss. I'll put it that way. That's broad. So, can you give me a little bit more? Because my imagination just can't go there.
Okay, let's say you coming from the position of I was coming from the position of third wheel, but let's say you're like coming from position of wife or something, and your husband comes to you and he's like, hey, I've been getting chemotherapy, and they said that I should abstain from sex for the next 3 years while chemo and all this other stuff was going on. And I want you to not have to abstain with me as you take care of the household and everything and blah blah blah. So, if you want, I wouldn't mind, or I would turn my back to you seeking solace in the outside company or the arms of someone else during hard times.
Oh, okay. I would tell them not to be concerned with that. That isn't anything that I'm factoring in. I want to take care of you, and that be the end of that conversation. It would be in the back of my mind that he brought it to me, but I would just leave it back there because I wouldn't be thinking about that.
You know what? I'll say this. Right, because people's needs and appetites and whatever vary. I don't criticize people for having an open relationship, period, for any reason, whether it's illness or not, if it's what suits them, whether it's at the time or in general or whatever the case is, because it's about them being happy, healthy, and functional both within the relationship and within their household. Now, so when it comes down to it, if what it is either a husband or a wife, whoever it is, whichever spouse is the caretaker, being a caretaker is a heavy, heavy burden. It's an extra heavy burden when the person you are caring for cannot return your affections or, just even menial basic stuff. They are bedridden entirely. You might be seeing them in all kinds of, who knows, terrible conditions. You know, the type of attitude and personality changes that can come with being incredibly sick and in a lot of pain, and who knows what other symptoms can be very devastating and difficult. You might end up having to sleep in separate rooms for the time being because of comfort or treatment or whatever it is. So, I mean, a lot of things can happen depending. Now, with that being all said, my issue when it comes to whether it's an open relationship or whatever the case is about the attention, detail, care, and effort that you are putting into inside of the household. And I do think that people need to be a little bit careful in these situations because it is such a difficult thing, unless your spouse is terminal. It's such a difficult thing that oftentimes when you do go outside to scratch the itch, so to say, it's very easy to find emotional connections with people that develop into something more than just scratching an itch or getting a hole in your life filled. So there's that. But I will say overall that if you being able to get a release, for you to be able to find someone who can allow you to be selfish and they give to you selflessly for a couple hours after everyone's gone to sleep and it's just you by yourself, normally sitting up watching the TV. And that is for you cleansing and healing, and it allows you to put your 100% forward to continue to deeply and completely love and care and support your spouse. Then I'm all for it. If you are using that type of thing as a way to run away from the pain and the devastation that you've got sitting at home, though, I have a problem with it. So I think it depends on how you're using it, in what context, and if and how it's taking away from the relationship, or how it's giving or adding back to the relationship.
Yeah, well, me, I feel again, as long as both parties are in agreement with it, that it is fine, because I know how hard it is to take care of someone who is terminally ill, especially because that's how I ended up homeless and a high school dropout, because I had to drop out of school to take care of my mother as she was dying. So
Right.
and she was bedridden, and she required round the clock care for what, 9 months before she died. And
Mm-hmm.
I can understand it from that point of view, of someone who definitely needs a break. Because I mean, I have 3 children, and my 3 children were nowhere near as stressful and as time consuming as taking care of my mother.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, and I could take care of 3 children a lot easier than that. So I, like I said, I can understand that, and I feel like as long as both people are in agreement, now it's when it's behind backs that's a problem, or I
Right.
feel it's a problem, because if you can't be honest with this person who is in a bad spot in their life, or in a bad way, then I wouldn't even want to say to just leave them. But I mean, would you want to be left, or would you want the truth? That's just a hard position to put someone in.
See, I don't think that that's fair though. And the reason why is because if you are actually a loving, attentive, devoted spouse, and so this is the first time and only time really it's coming up in your relationship, especially if your spouse is terminal, I don't think it's kind. If you know your spouse is the one who is going to be psychologically, mentally, and emotionally devastated by the idea of you sleeping with someone else or whatever, or by the idea that they're holding you back, or, because people get into all kinds of different modes. Um, I am actually okay with you keeping it a secret, insofar as the fact that it in no way, shape, or form takes away from the relationship or from what you are giving. And in fact, it is adding. Because the thing is, again, it is such, as you said, it's such a difficult position to be in. And it is to some extent, I will say, because when you think about it, like, I mean, my grandmother was just in that position. She passed away early last year. And then the same thing with my father-in-law in the summer. And now my grandmother is, so I mean, we're literally having person after person in my family right now in this exact kind of position where they need round the clock care. Some of them have lost their minds, which means they don't even remember you. So they can't even look at you and say I love you, and there's recognition in their eyes, which is
Mhm.
devastating. I mean, the kind of devastation you can feel from your parent or your grandparent looking you in the eyes and have no idea who the hell you are, let alone being able to return your love, your respect, your care, memories, anything. Um, and I think about how hard that is. So now I imagine that, when that's hard, right? That's very difficult. You can go home to your spouse and you can cry on your spouse's shoulder, and your spouse can hold you and love you and tell you it's going to be okay, and just be strong for your mom, just be strong for your dad, whatever it is.
Mhm.
But what if that person is your spouse? That's it. Like, that was the
Mhm.
person that you're supposed to be able to turn to and cry to and be held by and be loved and stroked by and all that stuff. No, that is the person who is causing you the devastation, and there is no one for you to turn to. But at the same time, you love this person, so you want to give them all that same love and care. You don't want to blame them, you don't want to hate them, you don't want to be resentful towards them, you don't want to take away from them at all. But at the same time, you're human, you are a
Mhm.
person. And it's such a difficult and devastating place to be. So I think that whatever it is that you need to do to get through, be a good spouse, be a good mate or soulmate to your significant other. But at the same time, what you need to do to get through that and to be able to give that, I think is okay. And I think that you would know your spouse, so you would know what would be a kindness and what would be mean, because it's just about you
Mhm.
unburdening your own soul, but at the cost of theirs. And I don't think that's fair. I think that if it's going to help you give to them, but at the same time, that telling them would devastate them, then it is on you to make sure they never find out. And it's on you to carry that cross and to carry that burden, period, forever. They should never, ever have to feel that. And they should always look in your eyes and know that they are always enough for you, because they are. It's just you're devastated, and devastation takes a toll.
Now, from the experiences that um, the couple never discussed that because there was never anything for them to think about. They were just devoted to their spouse, and that was it. So, as I said, I can't imagine that. That's just something I'm not able to um, really think about because I haven't seen it. And then, even knowing myself, I don't see where that song would ever be on my mind. I would be concentrating on my spouse. Um, Now, as far as what was in the news with the woman that you mentioned, B. Smith or whatever her name is, I don't recall. Um, that was very interesting to have someone, or I don't even know if the guy actually, because I never read it, I just heard about it. Someone mentioned it, but um, I don't know if the man met the woman because she was the caretaker and he started messing with her, or how that started. So I don't know. Um, that is very interesting. And public opinion, well, that's not favorable. You're going to do it publicly like that. Um, that's that's just disrespectful to your marriage, in my opinion.
Oh yes,
Uh,
I think he really hated that his wife, or had deep resentment for his wife the way he did that. That is disrespect. There is nothing about that situation
mhm.
that isn't any form. That is basically him saying, "I hate my wife."
Okay, okay, okay. Hold on, because I didn't know this. So when you just said her name, So I looked it up a little bit, but okay. I don't know if any of y'all watch Grey's Anatomy. I watch Grey's Anatomy. Obviously, I refer to it a lot. But anyway,
Okay.
in Grey's Anatomy, they actually illustrated sort of this situation whereby Richard's wife comes down with Alzheimer's. And it's a fast acting Alzheimer's. And it's kind of devastating too, because kind of like the only affair he ever had on his wife was with Ellis, and then she came down with Alzheimer's and died, and now his wife has Alzheimer's, whatever. Point is, so she gets to the place where she burns herself, and so he can't keep her at home anymore. Right? He's a very busy surgeon. He's running a hospital, but he can't keep her at home. So he brings her to the very beautiful facility. Now remember, she has periods of time at that time where she's still her, and periods of time where she's back in the past and still her. And so she recognizes him, in periods of time where she's going to stab him because he's an intruder who broke into her house and she's 6. So I mean, it can be very difficult. So, he brings her to the care facility. Now, she's in the care facility, and at this point she's almost never back. Like, she's never her, right? So this is your wife, you love her, but she has no memory of who you are at all. And she fell in love with another one of the Alzheimer's dudes. They fell in love with each other. Now, and he comes, right? And so she recognizes him, right? Because he comes around all the time and whatever. So he's like a friend, and so she tells him about the fact that she's in love with this guy. And at first he is livid. He's devastated. He's livid. He's angry, whatever. And then, he comes to realize, like, he loves his wife still. That's his wife until death. But at the same time, he had to accept the fact, like, she isn't her anymore, right? All of those memories that made her who she is and made their relationship what it was, and even the woman who literally said I do, is gone. And so he continued to care for her. He continued to show up for her, obviously pay for the facility, but that was now his friend. The relationship had evolved and changed, right? Just like when your parents have Alzheimer's, eventually the relationship evolves and changes, because they can no longer be your mom, or your dad, because they're not there anymore. They don't know who you are. And so I think that that's the thing. If it comes down to, especially, I mean, if they greet in advance, all the more. But I think it comes down to that, is she there? Like, does she see this as this is her husband at all? Ever? Does she remember this is her husband? Does she, and I don't mean on a physical, sexual level, mind you. I mean, period. Or is this her buddy so-and-so?
Yeah, I understand that. But why he moved the girlfriend in her house to have sex in their bed?
You know what? I would assume one of two things, honestly. And number one, again, I don't know what arrangements, because I mean, I just literally found out about the story just now, so I have to keep reading to see if they give more detail. But I would assume one of two things, and one is that it was previously discussed.
Nope.
Okay. And then my second thing would be, because when can he leave? Can he leave?
They have
Does he
dollars. He has caretakers that can come in and take care of her as well. He has caretakers that can come in and help take care of her. Yes.
So would it be better then for him to put her at a center and then just move on with his life? Like, I'm not really sure. See, I think this is the thing. Right now, is the wife outraged? Like,
the wife is mentally gone. That's the thing. See, the thing is, the wife is mentally gone, and he was a stay-at-home husband type guy, and his wife is very successful millionaires. She came with a whole lot of money, and he was a stay-at-home type of person. And now that she's sick, he can use her money to hire staff and do all this stuff, because it's still her house that he moved into and everything. And now he moved his mistress in. Now, it's a mistress, girlfriend, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't matter. But the thing is, yeah, he can have that. But why did he need to move her into the house?
I don't know, y'all. I mean, I hear what you're saying. I'm just not as mad. I'm being real, maybe because both of my grandparents have Alzheimer's and I'm feeling that devastation, like, currently. Maybe because I am a sick person with chronic pain and illness. And so I see the toll that I take on my husband Maybe it's because of, my grandmother just my other grandmother just passing away, my father-in-law just passing away, and seeing just the toll that all of this has been taking on my family in the last couple years alone. Maybe that's why I have a different perception of it. Like I get what you're saying, and whenever we have money as a factor and whose money was it and blah blah blah, it
Yeah.
becomes an issue. Um, One question I would have is how long were they together before she developed Alzheimer's?
They've been together for over 20 years.
Okay. So they've been together for over was he a notorious cheater? Like have they been in the news a lot for that kind of stuff? Did he have babies out of wedlock? Like I mean, is he known for being a womanizer, a cheater, a liar, didn't really love her, something? Or is this like kind of the first sign that people are seeing now?
Well, she didn't have any children and all that, and he had children with someone else. And so, and being that they were both very popular, well, they were both together in the 90s and early 2000s before stuff really started to hit the fan. A lot of times there wasn't the gossip back then.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody,
Okay.
I mean, nobody even knows why she never had children or anything like that. Like nowadays, everybody's like, "Oh, well, this person has fertility problems," or blah blah blah. But back then, it was more quiet. Nobody knew the real business of people back then.
Okay.
So it sounds like this guy was something else
Okay.
in the beginning.
Sorry.
Period.
Okay, so Lerner, so what I'm seeing is she doesn't actually live in the house as much as she does have a room inside of the house though. And for when she comes and visits from New York. That that's what I'm just seeing here. With that, the daughter and him care for her in their home in East Hampton, New York. So it seems as though they didn't hire a whole bunch of people to care for her and that they're doing it themselves. Him and his daughter are caring for her by themselves. I mean, I would think, and I mean, again, this is just based on some of the details of the story. They were together for 25 years, 25, 26, 27 years. It says they've been married since 1992. So they've been married for 27 years. And I don't know how long they were together before that. When she started developing Alzheimer's, they started talking and spreading awareness about it. They were very open, clearly to the public, and I'm assuming towards each other. And I'm also going to assume here, because the daughter and him are both caring for the wife at home, and this woman has a separate room inside of the house for when she comes to visit from New York. So she doesn't actually live there. And everyone is okay with this arrangement except for the public. So I guess my question would be if the daughter's okay, because she would be conscious. Are we 100% sure that this wife did not make this arrangement with this
It's
man?
his daughter.
It's his daughter. That's what I'm saying. But are we
Not-
100%
not-
sure?
If my father would have married a rich woman, I would say all kind of things as long as I was getting a part of the money.
They got married like almost 30 years ago. That would make sense if it was like 5 to 10 years max. But I mean,
Mhm.
30 years?
Yeah,
I think we're
woman
pushing
is
this
his
one.
daughter. That woman is his daughter. So I mean,
Okay.
she can say all kind of things. That's her father. That's not her mother, but that's her father.
So we think she just doesn't care at all, but someone that's been in her life for probably most of her natural life.
That's if she was around them or not.
You know what? I'm going to assume that since she's actually caring for this woman who actually looks relatively happy, and you can tell when an Alzheimer's person is abused, you can tell they're abused and unhappy because they act the way children who are abused are. And she looks very happy, very comfortable. She's leaning in towards both of them in the pictures because she's clearly very well treated. So I'm going to guess, just based on, again, the information we do have, is that the wife is very well treated. The daughter is staying there because even though that's not her mother, it's clearly someone who is really important to her, who she cares about a great deal. And you'd have to care a great deal to care for someone physically who has Alzheimer's, because it is a lot of work to do it for someone you're related to who you care a great deal about. And so I think again, I on one side, I understand the general point I think people are trying to make, but at the same time, I think a lot of assumptions are being made that aren't necessarily being supported by evidence other than our own feelings about it.
Yeah, I get exactly what you're saying. All I was saying is that as his daughter, she can say all kind of things. That they can say all kind of things about her living there and taking care of the stepmother and all this other stuff. I'm not saying that it's true or not. I'm just saying that if it was my father, I would be all on the board. I mean, the woman can't sit there and say this didn't happen or that didn't happen or refute anything. So I'll be like, yeah, I'll take care of her. We do all this together. We have a great time. I'm just saying that's how I would be, and that's why I look at it that way.
Hmm. Well, I mean, I don't know. I will say again, just being in this experience of the Alzheimer's people, I don't think I did not have a real and true understanding of the impact of Alzheimer's and what it can really do to a person, and how much it can honestly change them and change everything until it happened to my family. I really didn't get it. I didn't understand. And I think that we are applying something to a relationship that they probably did understand actually, long before it happened, because it's not like well, shit, in a year you're gone. You went from fine to gone in a year. No, this is something that slowly progressively happened. So it is probably something they did discuss to some extent. It's probably something they did make arrangements for, as far as understanding themselves and their own relationship and what they wanted. I know for me personally, and this is just me, and again, maybe it's because I'm a chronically ill, chronically sick person, and so I understand and I see and I feel the toll that I take on everybody, not just my husband, but everybody around me, and how much that hurts me sometimes. To be honest, it does. It's a very painful position to be in, especially when I'm having bad months where I'm literally like I can't get out of bed. Everything's terrible. I need help with the most basic functions and tenets of care, and how bad it makes me feel, how in the depths I want my husband to leave me, I want my mom to leave me, I want them to abandon me on some island somewhere and let me die so I stop sucking the life out of their lives. And I'm not saying it just to feel sorry for myself. I really literally mean it. I love them so much that what I am doing physically bothers me to the point where I don't even want it to happen. So I think there's a lot of aspects that, people are taking away from the wife. They're taking away from B. Smith as far as decisions she might have logically made that I honestly think I would probably make. To be honest with you, I probably would. Because I'm not sure I would want to leave my own home. I'd probably want to live and die in my own home. I would want to be surrounded by loved ones and stuff. But at the same time, I would also want to make sure, for example, there was a nurse there to wipe my butt for me. I would want to make sure that my family was happy and they were cared for in ways that I can't care for them because I'm basically innocent and childlike now and I'm gone. I'm gone. We're going to have to make a new relationship. I'm now your friend, Ruby. I'm no longer your wife, Ruby. I'm no longer your mama, Ruby. I am now your friend, Ruby. I'm now, we're brethren, Ruby, because I'm not there anymore. I'm literally gone. I'm a different person. And because of your love for me, and because of your devotion, because of that love to me, you are going to stick by my side until the bitter end, but I'm not me anymore. So, I think that it's a decision. Like, I think it makes sense to me, actually. And I'm looking at the pictures and stuff. I'm like, yo, that would be cool to me. I would be actually really happy with this arrangement. It looks like, yo, this chick comes by, my husband's happy. I'm happy. I think she's awesome. I think they're all awesome. We're all the greatest of friends. We all play games and we're good. Like that to me seems like it would be ideal end of days because there's nothing else. There's no connection to your memories of this is my spouse for 35 years. You don't have that anymore. So, you would just literally, it would be a new playmate for you. You might fall in love with some other dude because you don't no longer have the experiences that made you the you that you were when you met the love of your life husband. All these different things happen because you're literally a different person. So, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I understand that, money always confounds every situation. And whenever there's a money situation, we got to side eye people. But I don't know. I don't see it in this one. I don't.
I can say that I'm not saying that her end of life is bad because it seems to be very well. She seems very fine. I'm not saying that I think that it is let me get this straight. I'm not saying that I think the situation should change, but to me it sort of feels like in a way he sort of had a resentment for his wife. I'm not saying that he did, but to me it just sort of feels like it's sort of a resentment because I mean the problem, I don't even have a problem with it, but it seems like in a way, sort of like he was kind of rubbing it in her face a little bit because he didn't need to go on public with all of this. He didn't need to do all of the stuff that he did, going on 5 or 6 talk shows and all this other stuff, justifying his girlfriend. And then he did all that so he could start a podcast and all this other stuff. Talking about, him and his girlfriend having this podcast about their love, and then every now and then mentioning his wife. It's like it's to me it just seemed too much. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like they could have lived out their life.
Right. And that's fair enough. I you know what? I agree with you. Like on that front, maybe it didn't need to be publicized, but at the same time, I think to some extent, part of the issue is that they already publicized her illness. They publicized their experience. They publicized their relationship going through this experience through the different stages as it's continued downward. Right. So, it's like if this wasn't something that was so heavily publicized already by choice by the both of them, and obviously by her because she wanted to tell the story and she wanted to bring up Alzheimer's awareness and whatnot, then I would be like, okay, yeah, this is really, really side eye. But it already started. They already started doing this. This is how it started. This is how the illness started. This is just a natural progression. This is how they've been doing. They've made it all public. The whole entire nitty gritty, the good, the bad, the ugly, all throughout the disease. So now that she's completely gone and she can no longer participate, well, I mean, he's been doing it with her. This is their story,
Good point. Good point. Because of the fact that maybe that's just who they are. They're publicity people. Good point.
Yeah, like I'm not saying that them being publicity people and wanting to publicize this whole thing is good or normal or something I would even want to do. I think I would more so pull in Ellis Gray, which like no one knew she had Alzheimer's except for her daughter. Because I don't know, to me, I would find a lot of, I don't know, personal embarrassment and shame, sort of, I think, to literally lose my mind. I think I would rather lose all my faculties besides my mind. But with that being said, this was good for them. If they liked doing it,
they obviously did it. They obviously did like it because she was posting and talking and making speeches and everything and all that stuff before it, and was raising awareness for it. And I get you. That's a good point. They are just the type. They might have just been. That's just who they were. Who they always have been.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And see, at the same time, maybe as I become older, I will look into stories like hers and other people's stories, and maybe it being more publicized and more out there will make people like me not say, well, I would just hide in a corner and let me die in a hole so that way I don't die of embarrassment that I lost who I am. Right. So, I think that, it's a necessary thing to happen. We have to make things less shameful, less secretive and whatever. So, I guess they're doing a greater good, I think. I'm just not sure if I would do that greater good.
That's interesting.
hey, like that's my business. But that being said, I get criticized all the time for coming on YouTube and telling people stuff that other people would never tell people in a million years. So, maybe I am. Maybe I am more of like her than I think I am. I don't know, because I tell everybody everything. I'm like, oh yeah, y'all, and and this is what I did at 16 and at 21, this and that, and blah blah blah. And yeah, I tried this. I don't know. So, maybe I am a little bit more like, I mean, I don't know about the book and the tours and the this and the that but I mean, man, we are really attention hungry as a society. We're fame hungry. And we feel like if we can get public validation and attention and support for anything we are saying or doing, that it made our lives worth living. And I think to an extent, when you are going to spend the end of your life with no recollection of who you are, as those last moments of you fade away, I think to know that you left that kind of lasting legacy on the world, that forever you'll be remembered as this person who spread Alzheimer's awareness and feel like you did something good. Maybe that's what it is.
Possibly.
This is interesting though. I don't know how I missed this one. Like, this is not new. I don't know how I missed this. I did not know that this was happening. To be honest with you though, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know who B. Smith is. Like, I don't know who any of these people are. This is my first time having exposure to this story. This is interesting.
B. Smith owned a chain of restaurants and stuff like that in DC. She was like world-renowned chef and restaurateur and all this other stuff. And she was a supermodel or a model at one point. So I mean, she was one of those credentialed ladies of the 90s and 80s, you know what I mean? Like she had a whole lot of clouts, as they say back then. And she just so happened to not have any kids. And then on top of that, she had married a man who at the time people viewed as less than. So I think a lot of that might also have to carry on, because he was like a single a father that didn't have anything, and was a lot of people at the time thought he was just mooching off of B. Smith, and I think that also has a lot to do with the way people are viewing him now. Because they're like, a lot of people are like, here he is, he was never really anybody, and now he's using all her money because she don't have any heirs, and he's just gonna waste it away. And I think that's a lot of the thing that a lot of the problem, because he said he received death threats and all this other stuff. Like I said, I think a lot of that came from that. I don't care how he lives his life. I thought it was disrespectful, but when you think about it, like you said, they've always been the public eye. I was side-eyeing it at first. I'm like, why is that on he was on Dr. Oz. He was on, that's how I found out about it. Because I watched Dr. Oz, and here he is on Dr. Oz, and me and my girlfriend, we living with my wife. I'm like, what? I'm like, why is this on Dr. Oz?
I still find it disrespectful.
I'm
you
like,
gotta spread the news. Come on now.
It was like, I mean, he literally went on a press tour for a year, and he was showing videos inside the house, and people was like, well, why don't he hire workers? Because she has millions. She has millions. And they was like, he doesn't need all this stuff. It was her house and everything, and he was just more tours, building more tours, selling more books, starting a podcast, making videos. He started uploading daily videos of him and his girlfriend and his wife sitting on the couch watching movies together. And people was like, why? Like, and it came out of nowhere. Because I mean, apparently the relationship had been lasting for a while. What I think happened, if you ask me, what I think happened is that the mistress got tired of being in the whatchamacallit, and she was like, I'm not getting anything out of this. Is what I thought personally might have happened, while all of a sudden he was all Mr. Public with it. Because she's getting paid off of these things too. Like, she's making money off of this. And he's not actually giving her B. Smith money.
See, my question would be this though, right? And because I actually think that this is probably a bigger factor than we've spoken about so far. But first of all, the woman is younger. Second of all, she's white. Probably first of all, she's white. Second of all, she's younger. Um, but I really think that that is a bigger factor. I think if she was a slightly older woman, closer to his age, and she was a black woman, that there would be a far less amount of these discussions and far less of these things being brought up. No, really, right? Like,
I know, that's why I'm laughing.
it's like because when you think about it, it was just some of the words. Because I didn't initially think about it. I was just talking about the subject, right? Because I hadn't really seen the images. But it was some of the words that were used, right? It's disrespectful. It's this, it's that. And when I thought about it, I'm like, if she was an older black woman, though, would we think it's disrespectful, or would we think that it's
I
sweet?
picture in my head that I think it's disrespectful. I picture B. Smith sitting on the couch eating popcorn while they have sex beside her.
Well, I didn't know what the woman looked like, age or nothing, but I just say disrespectful to display that to the world. It's, in my opinion, it's almost like the ratchet behavior. I'm on, look at me, social media, look at me. No, that's what I'm picturing, for me.
But see, now with that being said,
sorry. Well, I find it disrespectful because I mean, he's like, it's like I can imagine that he seems like, to me in my head, because I done made him a bad guy. Like, he's the kind of person that would be as disrespectful as to do it. Like, right, she's there. And I said to my husband, I was like, you think they have sex in the same room with that woman while she's watching TV? And
of course not.
Maybe they might be into that.
Of course not. See, and that's the thing, right? In order to demonize, right? Because again, and I think that a lot of these insinuations and these thought processes would not come up if she was an older black woman. It wouldn't happen. We might think even a younger black woman, we might say because of the younger woman thing, right? But if she was an older black woman, we would not be making those types of thought processes, right? Because it's all connected to a thought process that we already have about interracial dating, about men who chase white women, about white women who don't really like black men but want their money, right? So we're attributing a lot of those narratives to this story, right? And so in and of itself, the fact that he had a girlfriend, is that the problem? Is the fact that the girlfriend's white the problem? And I think that's why we would be really quick to be like, oh, hell no, the wife didn't co-sign it. Why? Because she wouldn't co-sign him sitting there doing this with a white woman, right? We would believe she might co-sign a black woman, but a white woman, no way. This must be this thing where, and we made the daughter a criminal. We made everyone in this story criminal, right? And I'm not sure if we can say that we really did that because of the facts as they stand, right? We might disagree with some of this stuff and the way that, they've chosen to go about this whole Alzheimer's life. But even, and I'll say this, right? Because you think about it like this, is it kinder for him, right? And better and nicer? And I'm going to say, obviously, I'm going to agree with one side versus the other. But is it kinder and nicer and better and more devoted of him to leave her because she can no longer be a wife or companion of any sort to him, doesn't even recognize him, wouldn't miss him if he was gone, to the care of $1 million doctors, just take care of her and whatever. They're going to keep her comfortable. You pay lots of people who don't know her at all, but are the best in their field to make her comfortable, keep her company, whatever, while he leaves her and goes and starts his new life without her. Would that be kinder and more caring and more devoted? Or is it more devoted for him to do exactly what he's doing now, which is keeping familiar, loving faces around her, a familiar, loving environment, supportive environment around her at all times, while she slowly descends?
Well, I can see how you can see that, and I'm pretty sure there are a lot of people who feel that way. Me, myself, and I know good and well that if my husband brought an old black woman, an old black white woman, a young black woman, a young white woman in my house, even if I had Alzheimer's, if I ever come back to myself, he gonna find a kitchen knife in his head
Uh-oh.
But see, that's the thing, and this is one of those things where I will say that because Alzheimer's is a degenerative disease, but eventually you get to the place where you don't come back. You because at first it's like you lose
Mhm.
little bits here and there, right? And then it's like, oh, you're best before this time, and then by the time you're tired, you've lost yourself, and so on and so forth. So it's progressive, and you do actually get to a place where you literally you're gone. That's it. You are now a completely different person. You are back to being 12-year-old you in a way, and that's it. It's gone. Everything is gone. And then you get to a place where not only are you 12-year-old you, but you're not 12-year-old you. You're just a 12-year-old. You're a brand new human being. Someone could tell you your name is something else, tell you a whole bunch of stuff about your life that never happened, and you believe them, because at
Well,
the end of the day you don't exist anymore, and it's not a back and forth process. And it's actually, for people who have Alzheimer's, it's very, very, very difficult to come to terms with that, because you think about it, it's like you have to come to terms in baby steps, but eventually, and this is what it comes down to, is long before you die, long before you get to the place where you're immobile and you die and life isn't worth living anymore, even years, sometimes even honestly could be decades, but years before you get to that place where you're still wandering around and being a person and whatever, you're gone entirely. And so you do actually really make plans. You have to make plans, right? Because especially if you do have spouse and children, whatever, you've got to make arrangements for that period of time, because you aren't going to be you at all. You won't be able to make decisions at all, not because you're just crazy sometimes, but because you're not you. You're not even a person anymore. You just exist. And
that
so you're going to move based on that, right? Like,
that is understandable. But some people, I'm just saying me as who I am.
Mhm.
If I was in that situation, me personally, I would either want my husband to make sure she doesn't live with me, or to just go ahead and pay for me. Just let me pay for my own care, because I would not. I refuse. I would be highly offended if I was in that situation. I don't care how the woman look. I don't care if the woman looked like me, if she was as old as me. I don't care what. If I was in that situation, I would be highly, and I mean highly offended. I would rather go and live in a old folks home somewhere else. Just do not have me in a house with your girlfriend.
exactly. And I think that's an important
Mhm.
distinction, right? And that's why I said, what do you think would be kinder? Because it's an honest to God question. That's why I said, for
Yeah.
me, this is what I think would be kinder. Now, she doesn't actually, and I want to clarify the fact she doesn't live there. She comes and she visits sometimes, and so she has her own separate room, not his room. She doesn't stay in his room when she's there. She has her own separate room inside of the house.
You
Well, when
think
she
you
comes to
really
stay.
believe that, don't you? I tell you
Yeah, no,
what,
I do. I
I
do.
believe
You know
they
what?
are
I
in her
absolutely
bed,
do.
and they are in that woman's bed, and they sit there and lay her in that bed after they done had whatever they done did. Because I think all of it is a lie. I think it's all a bunch of nasty. But I mean, hey, it's not.
See, and that's the problem. I'm going to sit there and judge the story based on the actual facts that are presented at the very least, and say that the woman comes and visits. She doesn't live. See, that's the thing. She's got a life. She's got a life, a job, a career, a house, or whatever in New York. So when she comes to visit, which is not every day, she doesn't live there because she comes to visit. She has her own separate room, because otherwise it wouldn't be her own separate room that she has. She would just stay in his room, because I'm sure he doesn't sleep in her room and in his wife's room anymore. So she's got her own separate room inside of this house when she comes to visit. Okay. So she comes in, she visits, and whatever. They're okay with this arrangement. If you aren't okay, which would make sense. I mean, again, everybody is different. What they would be happiest with is different. And the unfortunate thing is, because the thing that's going to change about what you're good with, I mean, you might change as things go, like change, let's say for you. But your spouse could change too. And so, if those are the options, right, you might be left alone or in a care facility or whatever the case is, or it's left up to your kids. And if your kids aren't going to do it, well, then you're in a care facility or whatever. I've always just, for me at least, I've always thought that the care facility thing is, I mean, if you have any options not to do that, because I've seen just some of the care that people get in these facilities, and it's just devastating to me, how alone and lonely. I used to volunteer in these when I was a teenager, and it's just devastating how lonely and alone and almost confused and afraid that these elderly people are constantly, and they feel abandoned. They don't really know the details, and they're too confused to understand them.
Is that how
And
it is up there?
Pardon?
Is that how it is in the care facilities up there?
That's how it is in care facilities in general. Um,
Down here, they be having STDs from all the sex they be having in care facilities.
no, that's not a care facility. Then that's different. So there's old folks' homes, right? Which y'all are just old. You can't.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. The old folks' home. Oh,
Yeah, no, yeah, but there's different floors to it, right? So there are floors for when you get to a certain place, like, so let's say you're just a little old, you got a little dementia, but you're all right, right? You go and you go play cards with people, you chill out, you make new friends, whatever it is, right? Like I said with Richard's wife, right? She went and found herself a whole new man, right? And I'm pretty sure she actually did catch an STD. I think it was one of the discussions. Anyway, but yeah, that can happen. But then you get to the place where it's like, nah, you keep progressing downwards. And so eventually you get to a place where you're no longer able to interact with people. You're no longer able to care for yourself in any way. You're no longer able to get out of bed, right? Because it just keeps progressing. It's more than just memory. And so you're dying in essence because your brain is deteriorating. And so when I think about that, right, and the fact that being able to stay at home with the familiar faces and loved ones and whatever, and how those things can be stimulating, actually, but so can social support. And that's actually important. So if you can't give your loved ones social support in any way, then, putting them somewhere where they can get that socialization is important. So you got to weigh the different factors, I think. And you do have to make those decisions that are right for you, but you got to make them in advance. Like, you can't sit there and just wing it. You do have to make it in advance when you're of sound mind, and you have to be honest. And both sides have to be really, really honest with themselves. If this is going to last over 5 to 10 or maybe even 20 years, and this is the progression it's going to go down, and we listen to the doctor and they give us, this is the nitty gritty. We got to be really, really honest with ourselves about, when I get to here, this is what I want to happen. And when I get to here, this is what I would want. And when I get to here, this is what I would want. And the husband or the wife, whoever's on the opposite side who isn't sick, they have to be honest too. Because I think that there's a lack of honesty. And so there's that fear of being disrespected, going against one's own wishes, one's own desires, hopes, dreams, feelings, whatever it is. And it's like, nah, well, I think as long as everyone's honest, completely honest and completely open about what it is that they want and need, I think that, it could be what we're seeing. It could be some more extreme version. It could be, where Fitness Mom is. You better not. You sure better don't, because you will wake up with an axe in your head one day. I'll just have a fleeting memory, and that's it. You're dead. Or something somewhere in between. But whatever it is, be real. Just be real and be honest and be realistic, because it is what it is, and you can't change the fact you have this disease. You can't change what the disease is going to look like, how it's going to progress, whether you can fight it or not, whether you can beat it or not. Like, you can't change those things. So let's be honest about what we really, really need. And as hard as it's going to sound like an asshole thing to say, but let's not be selfish. Because we really got to think about, as much as we want our spouse to show us love and care and compassion, we need to show our spouse love and care and compassion, and understand that once we get to a certain place, about, let's say, 50% of the way through this disease, that we won't show them any love, care, compassion, support, reciprocation in any way, shape, or form at all, ever, period. We won't. So if that's what we're going to do, and we're going to sign them up for another 10 to 15 years of doing that, and they better give us all of this, and this, and we're not going to give them back any of it. But if they don't do it, their shitty spouse. Well, again, I think we have to care about the other side as much as we have to care about our own.
I think that is a great point. And I was wondering, unless y'all have anything else to say about this, I was going to ask your opinion on something else.
Ooh, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm done.
So, speaking of white women,
of course. Love it.
But I'm joking. It's actually about all women. But I just threw that in. So they're making advances in fertility treatments now. Can you believe this? They are making it so that, and I kid you not, this is insane to me. It is crazy. It is insane and crazy. They have it so that if a woman dies and she's an organ donor at this point, they're now donating uteruses and putting uteruses in women so that they can be able to carry children. I think they say the uterus lasts maybe 2 or 3 pregnancies before it's no longer viable. But they are now doing uterus transplants to make women be able to carry them babies. What you think about that?
What the world? That's what I think about that. What the world is going on? Is there a cost for that? You have to sign up.
Apparently, if you have working ovaries and fallopian tube, but your uterus is busted for whatever disease you may have, they are now starting to do uterus transplants. And apparently, the uterus lasts for, I think they said 2, maybe 3 pregnancies before you cannot use it for pregnancy anymore. I don't. The word that they used in the article was disintegrate, but I can't wrap my head around disintegrate. Because at that point it sounds like the uterus just completely disappears, but I don't think that that's what they mean by that. It's just the wording choice they use for that article. But I'm like, so apparently, if a woman is an organ donor and there are fertility couples who can use that uterus to grow their children.
Wow. That means more than likely they get out. That'll be covered.
Yeah, I was asking the same thing too. I was asking the same thing too, Vonda. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying. That's why I said, speaking of white women, I was asking the same thing too.
Yeah. Because we know some of that is going on, but also, is the insurance going to cover that as far as the transplant? That's what I'm wondering too. This is kind of interesting. A bit much too, but this is.
Well, I guess, Mike, and honestly, like I hate to always be the dissenting voice here. I do. I want to just agree with everyone. I just don't know how. Okay, so I guess my question is this, right? Okay, besides the point of snatching Black women off the streets, this goes without saying, but my question is more about just in general. Why do you feel an issue with the uterine transplant over every other organs transplant? Like, what is the issue?
Well, the thing about it is, and I'm not saying that this happens to a lot of women, but all through my 30s, they don't do it anymore. I'm glad. But all through my 30s, they kept trying their best to get me to have a hysterectomy. And I was like, but I want to have more children. But doctors and stuff kept saying, you should look into maybe having your uterus removed. And I'm like, no. I kept saying, no, I'm not having my uterus moved. But they's like, yeah, a lot of times, and I know people who was like, yeah, well, I was 34 and they started pressing for a hysterectomy. And I'm like, why? Why are these people why a lot of these doctors keep pressing for us to have our uteruses removed? And then all of a sudden I hear about this and I'm like,
Yeah, I never
Okay.
really thought about the fact, like I understand when Ruby was asking, why is that particular organ an issue? I wasn't even thinking about it that way. I was just wondering about the insurance part. I'm like, how is this going to cost us or them? That's why I started thinking. But go ahead, Ruby.
Well, the reason why I want to know is because when you first started, I thought you were going to say something along the lines of fallopian tubes and like ovaries, right? Like, as in, they can take your ovaries and put them in someone else, and they can literally have your babies, your genetic DNA babies, which I did have a problem with. Um, but to give someone who has lost their uterus to a partial hysterectomy, who still has their own functioning ovaries and fallopian tubes, a chance at having and carrying their own children to term, or giving people who were born with birth defects, a chance again at carrying their own children to term. um, I guess I don't see anything inherently wrong. In fact, I didn't really know that they didn't transplant uteruses. I mean, I would assume obviously they didn't plant the fallopian tubes in, or especially the ovaries. With those being your, sex gonads. So I'm pretty sure they wouldn't transplant those. But I don't know. I pretty much thought that they would already transplant basically most, if not any, organs that you have, both surface and internal. And the only question would be whether or not in and of itself they had a functional method, obviously, of attaching your ovaries and fallopian tubes to this uterus, for it to function, in essence, right? So I mean, I guess that would have been my only question with it. But as far as the actual function of it happening and it being an option,
I think the reason that I have it and a lot of people, because, I don't know, it's probably not like this in Canada, but I know from the age of 25 on up, they are constantly trying to remove your uterus. If you're like, a lot of Black women will tell you that they keep trying to come up with new and inventive ways to get you to get a hysterectomy.
okay. Which in and of itself would simply make me happier that they're actually doing this now, openly and therefore legally. Because okay, I guess say it this way, basically, right?
This wasn't this has been done in other countries, but this is the first time it's actually been openly done in America.
Exactly. And so, see, here's the thing. If they know how to do something and do it successfully, but it's illegal, yes, Black women are at risk. And because they will snatch your ass off the street once they find out that you are the right blood match and whatever from whatever other records you've done. Right. And they will snatch you to take it from you. Right. So that way their white woman can now carry babies for them. So, to me, if this has been happening and or they've been trying to force hysterectomies, all the things that they do to try to basically either illegally or legally obtain these uteruses for these rich white women, they now can do them legally, which in and of itself then puts less Black women at risk because there is now going to be legal donors. So every time someone dies, you know what I mean? There can now be a uterus that is going to be legally given, and so that now puts so many more people in safety that weren't in safety because they would have been snatched 5 seconds ago. So, I think to me, if anything, looking at it from that angle, it explains some things, right? It explains the push. It probably also explains some of the missing Black women that have happened, young girls or just past puberty girls and young women that go missing. I think it explains obviously some of that. And it also, but I think again, it would then be a good development.
Yeah, I'm just the American government and doctors and the American healthcare system has been doing their best to force sterilization amongst Black women in one way or another forever. So most of the times when they was pushing for the hysterectomy, most Black women just assumed that it was them trying to sterilize us like they always do. But then when you find out about the whole uterine thing, it's like, what? Not again. Now it's like, okay, so that's why. Because I mean, it was just weird how much it upticked. Because I know a lot of people in the chat, the 2 or 3 women in the chat can say like it really upticked recently. I mean, because before, like I say, about 2006 up, they really started pushing for women to have hysterectomies. And I was like, why are they really pushing that?
Hmm. With that being said, though, right? I mean, one of the reasons why they would need uteruses from unsuspecting Black women is because of hysterectomies, right? Being number one cause, probably cancer, close second. And so, with that being said, I would say, if anything, that push needlessly for hysterectomies would probably actually go down. I mean, it might not then prevent the occasional snatching when a rare blood type is hard to find and no one's coming up on that list and a woman's pushing 40. But the point would then be because women who lose something would then go onto the transplant list. So then, otherwise healthy women who could have gotten through without a hysterectomy are no longer going to be pushed to have one because they are going to go put themselves on that list because they want more children. Right, which then makes the list longer, which then bumps other people down. It becomes more difficult. UNOS is a more difficult system to manipulate, which is why they do the things that they do to begin with. And so to me, and that's why I said, I'm like, to me, making something like this legal in and of itself it sounds to me like a better thing than how it currently is. If it's something that they can do, but it's not legal, they're going to do it. They're going, what's the option? What do we need? Oh, okay, no problem. We'll just go steal it. They don't see us as humans. They definitely don't see our women and children as viable humans in need of protection. So with that being said, then when I look at it though from the system, okay, well now she had a hysterectomy, so now she's gonna go on the list because she needs a uterus. Wait a minute, no, we don't want the list to keep getting longer, and to create more of an issue. That doesn't logically make sense. Okay, we're not going to push more and more women to have hysterectomies, okay, because we've already practiced enough. Because that's another thing too. I'll probably say there's probably a lot of unwanted testing that is actually happening. Where they're pushing because they need more practice. They need to test more and make sure that they get it right. And then you've got the younger girls who disappear and whatever. Yeah, I would probably say again, I would be looking at rare blood types and rare blood type specials, and anyone who disappears who's got one of those, yeah, that's probably what it is. Probably for a variety of their parts, not just a uterus. So I think that when I look at it, I'm like, the more available and more plausible something becomes as far as it being released to the general population and being widely available, I think it gives protection in the fact that it's no longer needed for them to circumvent the law to get what they need or want.
Yeah, that sounds great. I think that is it will make it easier, and that they will use more legal ways of obtaining their the parts.
Yeah, like I'm not saying it's gonna cut it out entirely because again, if there's a rush, if they feel emergent, if they're not particularly patient, if they're really down on the list, whatever it is, then that just puts everyone with their blood type, you know, at high risk. Fine, fair enough. I mean, they also feel no ways though, and it's easier for them, first and foremost, to go to a different country, and have these illegal surgeries in a different country, versus committing the crime itself here and then committing the criminal surgery here. It's smarter for them to go to, I don't know, Venezuela or wherever the hell, and pretend they're on vacation, and getting a tummy tuck liposuction or whatever, right? While they're going to go do the surgery. So again, when they legalize something here, it just makes it, I think it makes it a tiny bit safer. With that being said though, too, beyond the nefarious means of this though, like did you have any thoughts or feelings about it beyond the nefarious, beyond the impact, like if you take away, you know
No,
well,
I
the
think it's great.
obvious.
I mean, I'm always for adoption and stuff like that. Like, I think it's good when people do what they call it, fetal or embryo adoptions and stuff like that. I mean, I think it'd be nicer to do embryo adoption, because I mean, and that's
Mm,
weird because of the fact that they're technically not alive, but there are couples out there who do the IVF and they have their children that they can't, don't can't put in them, that they're paying money each month to keep frozen. And it's like, I think if you do that, at least you're saving that life, because eventually they might end up having to thaw those eggs because they can't afford the bill.
true. Yeah, that's a fair point. I know, I think for some women, right? Because, like, I don't know. Like, I don't have any children, right? So I'm speaking purely from an ignorant point of view where I don't have any children. But, like, I never wanted to be pregnant. I still don't really want to be pregnant. There's nothing about the concept of pregnancy or growing a life inside of me or any of that crap that appeals to me. It's just more free than getting a surrogate. No, I'm being real, right? Like I understand the medical necessity. I have no choice because my ass cannot afford tens of thousands of dollars for someone to carry a baby for me for 9 months. I understand that I can't do that, and especially because I want 4 kids. So I understand I have no choice, but I have no desire to be pregnant. Um, I would rather someone else carry my children for me. Um, so I can't really like I guess I don't understand the desire of what you just wanted to grow a baby inside of you so badly, and that's why you adopt the embryos. Like I don't know. Like, do
Embryo
women want it that much?
embryo adoption is usually because they can't have kids with their own eggs.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll do what the closest thing to actually being a birth mother is by actually birthing their adopted children, because their own eggs are whatever is not compatible with actually having a natural child.
Right. So
So they
like,
just want to be
is it?
pregnant. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. Is it
Mhm.
that they want the experience of the pregnancy and whatever, or
Yeah,
is it like a guilt thing for not? You know what I mean? Like, do
yeah.
they?
'Cause they I think mostly they want the experience of pregnancy because they
Ugh.
want to have their own child, but they can't
Mm-hmm.
have
Mhm.
their own child. So they at least want to give birth to their adopted child, because
Mm.
having
Right.
their own child is something they cannot do.
Like, I don't know, man. I would kind of be like, I'm telling you, like, if I could just get people to volunteer to carry my children for me for 9 months, I'd already have some. Being real, like, it just doesn't. There's no part of pregnancy that sounds like fun to me.
Well, it depends on what pregnancy is different for every woman. Like me,
Mm,
myself, and I, when I get pregnant, I don't have any symptoms really.
right.
I mean, the only time pregnancy is uncomfortable for me is at the end of it. And by that time, it's almost over. But like the beginning and all that stuff, you wouldn't be able to tell I'm pregnant.
Oh, okay.
The thing about pregnancy and how it affects you really depends on how your body reacts to estrogen and progesterone. Like me, myself, and I've always had, like to this day, even though I'm not pregnant, I have high estrogen and high progesterone levels.
Right.
That leads to me having medical problems because of the fact that I have high estrogen and high progesterone levels. And the thing with pregnancy and the people who have like the bad nausea and all that stuff, a lot of that is contributed by the high progesterone and the high estrogen. And a lot of people are used to having normal levels, because their body functions normally and everything is working normally and they don't make too much of this or too much of that. So when it goes out of whack like that, their body's not used to it. And they'll be like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And they're throwing up all over the place. But me, my body's used to abnormally high levels of this, that, and the other. So when I'm pregnant, it's just like same old, same old.
Right. It's funny. I wasn't even thinking about the sick, like the throwing up part. I was thinking about the parasite growing in my body and getting bigger and bigger. Um, honest, like that's how it just in my head. I know it sounds horrible, but that's how it like. There's a parasite in your body. It eats everything you eat. It drinks everything you
We name
drink.
it. When I get pregnant, yeah, we call it my little parasite. We name it.
Right.
A little smeagly,
Thank you.
a little biscuit chop, and everything else. I mean,
Right.
it is a little parasite. And
Right.
the thing about my little parasite is, I have also other little parasites that grow in me too. So I have, like I say, I have extremely high estrogen and progesterone levels on the regular. So I have tumors and growth and stuff that grow in me on a regular basis because of those high levels. So I like my breasts are lumpy. Like I have to get specialized tests for breast cancer because of the lumps that are already growing because of the high estrogen in my body. And I mean, so I'm sort of used to having something extra, a couple of extra lumps that ain't supposed to be there. But yeah, that's the thing. Yes, it's a parasite, and you can name it and call it little Smeagly or little wheat daggle or whatever you want to call it, little nickname. And you don't feel it for most of the pregnancy. So
It's just no, and then it starts moving, and your belly moves, and then then it kicks your bladder and shit, right? And then, and I mean, honestly, okay, we can't neglect the fact that for me, like I won't be able to take any of my medication, so I'm gonna be real uncomfortable. Period. Just walking around before there's a giant mass in front of me that I'm trying to rebalance and recalibrate for every step of my life. But then all the humans, right? The humans, besides the parasite inside of me, are going to make it worse for me. I don't like when people touch me, period. Just in general. I feel I am so worried. When people like touch you to talk to you? Like I want to take their hand and throw it to the other side of the. Don't touch me. And I'm even talking about my mother. Why do you need to touch me to talk to me? I'm right here. I can hear you.
Yeah,
I can see you're making a point. Why don't you lightly tap your own lap? Right. I don't like to be touched. But the thing is, everyone comes up to you. Oh my God, you're pregnant.
I'm gonna tell you a story. It's a quick story. When a person does that to you, I know someone. What he does is, as soon as you touch him, he turns his head and look at your hand or whatever you're using to touch him with, and he says nothing. He'll just stare at your hand where it is on his body and says nothing. So try that technique. Continue.
It works. But me, Shar, I have such a hard time being a real asshole. I do. Like, I'll do it to, like, say my mom or something. She just ignores me anyway. She didn't care. But, like, to other people, like, I feel it. But I'm trying so hard to be socially acceptable. almost like, cause I feel like almost like I'm so resistant, like I'm like mildly autistic, so like I'm trying to like, I feel like there's a normal line where normal people are okay with being touched a little bit. I'm just not. Like, I want you, if I stick my arm out, I shouldn't be able to touch you. That's a fair amount of space between me and you from all angles. Like, just don't touch me, right? Seriously. And humans, they see you're pregnant belly, they want to touch you, they want to be close to you, they want to talk to you about, like, yo, just leave me alone. I don't even like people. And now everyone wants to be up in my parasite's business. Like, it's just like I was not made for pregnancy at all. like like maybe I could give women the gift of carrying babies without all of the responsibility of raising them, right? Like, we'll see it, say it that way. I'll sell it that way in a newspaper. You get to carry out the baby, you get to have all the fun. I'll let you get all the presents.
No. See, look, being a surrogate mother takes a special type of woman.
True.
The thing about it is, you know how they say that you bond during sex, right?
Mm-hmm.
That bond is nothing compared to the bond during childbirth.
Mm-hmm.
When a surrogate has you can even YouTube it and YouTube surrogate birth, and they'll have surrogate mothers sitting there talking about something. I know he's going to a great home, and they'll be crying their eyes out because they don't want to let go of biscuit chop.
Hold on. I have a question.
You get a whole lot of flood. It's a giant flood of the same emotions and stuff you get when you have an orgasm, when you have a baby. I mean, it's not the same hormones and the same dopamines and all that, and serotonin and all that. You just get like a giant flood of it when you have a baby. So it's like an intensified attachment to that baby.
Okay. I have a question. So, Christine, you said, for Christine in the chat, you said, you say that because you have never experienced it. It's an experience like nothing else next to sex. So I want to know, do you mean pregnancy? Do you mean the childbirth? And what do you mean by that? Because, see, I believe you. I think, for example, trying to push a watermelon out of my vagina is going to be an experience unlike anything I will ever experience before or after that. I agree with you. I can think of a million ways I will never experience anything like this. It just doesn't sound like a good plan to me. And maybe if I was younger at this point, right? And so I hadn't seen so many people go through childbirth, and I hadn't seen good, not so good ones, and all these things, and I hadn't had so much time to just sit there and dwell on it. Maybe it wouldn't be so bad, but I have. And it's just, there's no part of it that seems like a good plan to me. Like,
you know what's funny? You want to know what's funny? I don't know what it feels like to push a child out at all. I have 3 children and couldn't tell you what labor pain feels like at all.
Really? So you had like what, pre-planned C-sections?
No, medication.
Yo, I said that the other day. I'm not even lying.
Medication. I tell you, when I say that I pushed my baby out in 2 pushes and did not know anything about it, I did not know. They had gave me the drugs. And you don't know drugs like I know drugs.
But you know what, though? I'll tell you this. So here's a nightmare story. So I had a friend, and she was a high-risk pregnancy because she had a heart surgery when she was a kid. And so, like, she was, like, at the best of the best hospital and blah, 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 right? And so the point is, like, she cannot be on, she can't be in labor pain. It's too much pain for her with her heart. So, epidural was necessary. All right, cool. So she gets the epidural. This girl is in so much pain. They up the epidural, they do this, they do that. You know, it took them till like literally almost right before she pushed, before someone figured out that the damn thing was leaking onto the bed. And that's why she was in massive amounts of pain her entire 14 hours of labor. Somehow they missed the fact that the liquid itself was pouring into the bed. How? I don't know. They kept checking everything and everything was fine, but they missed the fact that the bed itself was wet and it was from the epidural. It was not going into her. So yeah, that was one thing. But you know what? I'll tell you another most interesting story. So this was with my friend's first kid. Her second kid was a nightmare, but the first one, like she was like, yeah, I think my water broke. We got to go to the hospital. So she went to the hospital. She said she got like a little bit of cramping. It was kind of almost like period cramping. This is what she said. Okay. So she gets to the hospital, whatever, and they're like, all right, cool. Well, you know, they put her into a bed. She said she fell asleep. They woke her up and said, okay, you're ready to push now. And she pushed a couple times and then she had a baby and she went back to sleep. No medication. There was no pain. She was good. Like I'm like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Like your whole entire labor was damn near painless and you slept through most of it and then just woke up at the end and just pushed. And that was like pretty much painless. No ripping, no nothing. She had like a magical. So I've heard some really great stories, right? But the horror of it all, like I maybe because I saw the birth videos too early in life. So I saw that fuzzy little head coming out of what's supposed to be my cute little tight vagina. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I just. Because we have this channel, right? It's called the Learning Channel, TLC. And they have a variety of shows on there. Like they'll play like Say Yes to the Dress and stuff on there. But I remember they used to play like different shows of people like literally pregnancy from somewhere throughout their pregnancy to the point where they've given birth to a newborn. And you know, they would show you what's up. And I was pretty young. Like I was definitely before puberty. And so, you know, I remember the one of this chick, she's sitting in like a pool and I swear to God, it was a real pool. It was not some birthing pool. It was like it looked like a chlorinated pool, like just a pool. And she's sitting in a pool, which ruined pools for me forever because it was a giant pool. And she's walking around and she like bends over sort of. And then you see this close up of what's supposed to be a vagina. And then this really like a lot of long hair coming out of it. And then they set the baby swimming through the water, right? And of course, babies can swim, like, and they don't need air at first, right? So it's swimming back and forth and stuff in the water. And I was just like, what the hell? See, I think that was it, right? I was just exposed to too much too early. It was just like, no, please, Lord Jesus, if someone can just be a surrogate, like I'm just saying, I understand that's why you pay people a lot of money. And actually, I would be willing to pay people a lot of money if there was a guarantee they had to give me the kid, and there isn't. Because
that is true.
Yeah, some people have won that case before, and I disagree with that. I mean, I disagree with that so deeply. I think that's horrible. And so because there's no guarantee they have to give me my kid after all of that said and done, no, I can't do the surrogate thing either. Maybe I need to kidnap some little white girls off of the street to carry my babies for me, right? The way they do us, would just do them, right? Just get me some little white girls, and you know they can carry my baby, and then there you go.
I don't think they do that in Canada, do they?
I don't know. We got people who disappear and you never see them again.
Dude, that was my backup plan.
Right? Well, it happens less though. It happens less. We'll be real, because you know so much is covered by just basic healthcare, right? We have universal healthcare, and then insurance plans from your companies are normally pretty good. So I mean, it's I'm sure it happens far less. Ontario is definitely a place to come. Ontario, Canada, if you want to lower your risk of everything, because this is the best province in total, but it doesn't matter. We're still on the same continent. So I can say like they do us and feel justified because I'm black on this continent. And so it's fine. If you want, I can take a white American girl to make it fair. But either way, I'm just trying to find a way where I don't have to carry the baby and go through the 9 months of parasite growth that turns into a watermelon that stretches out my vagina permanently and forever. Never mind the tearing stuff. My friend tore so badly, like it mangled her, like it mangled her, like it's not recognizable because it tore straight through her vulva, and like it was a nightmare. Like forever the baby mangled her. Like, do you see the trauma? I don't know. I don't think I was built for it. But I wasn't really
Wow.
built for adoption either. That's the problem. I'm not the person who wants to adopt. I know that probably makes me a bad person, but I don't. I want to raise I want my own genetic legacy.
Nothing wrong with that.
But she has no idea how much it expands yet contracts back to normal. That's what y'all say, okay? Now, I've never slept with women before and after childbirth to know, but I'm just saying, I believe it stretches and it mostly contracts back. I just don't think it's ever the same. And I don't think that you could honestly tell me a whole human came out of your vagina and it just went back to normal. This is like, people look at it and damn, it looks virginal. Like, I don't believe it. I don't. I'm sorry. I just can't buy that one.
Yeah.
I had just for craps and giggles, because I was like, shoot, if how I was just looking up for fun, like how much can I sell this uterus for, right?
Oh no.
Starting her hustle. Everybody need a hustle.
And apparently, I think it was like they go for 10,000 because they accept donors. You know what I mean? Apparently, to donate your uterus, you got to be 30 to 50, and long as you not fat and don't have diabetes or STD, they'll be ready to take it. 30 to 50. I'm like, shoot, are they selling it? Are they?
Right?
But it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it goes back to normal, the normal size. I mean, at least that's what my husband said. But you know how men say a lie to you for whatever.
That's what I was gonna say. And when you ask him if you look fat in that dress, and he says no, do you always believe him? Especially when you look in the mirror and you know you look fat in that dress. So his eyes must be lying. Was he blind? You know, when you got to the mirror and you looked, you're like, of course I look. Ew.
Well, I don't know. I'm just saying that I know it doesn't feel different. That's for sure. It feels different right after you have the baby, but then when it's time for the so-called snapback, it feels the same. You talking about the uterus? If the uterus is vintage, I don't know. Lowest is below. Longest between 30 and 50. They'll take the uterus, apparently. Like, hey, like, I don't know why. They'll take the uterus between 30 and 50.
Wow.
And longest is between 30 and 50. The person's not fat and has no STDs or anything, or diabetes. Now, the requirements to get the uterus is a lot stricter. But you could go and give your uterus as long as between 30 and 50. I was like, what? Because I mean, to receive a uterus, you got to be 20 to 35 only, with working ovaries, less than 30% BMI, cancer-free, no STDs, non-smoker, no diabetes, and all kind of stuff they talking about. And it costs, I think, $10,000. I was like, how much of that goes to the uterine donor? But I'm pretty sure they ain't gonna take any money. They're not giving. And that's the thing. Like, you could be an egg donor and they pay you for your eggs. But if you're a uterine donor, you don't get paid for your uterus.
That ain't fair.
I was like, what? I mean, if you donate eggs and uteruses, then I mean, shoot, I'm just saying.
I think so.
I don't know. I was thinking the same thing, Vonda. I was like, shoot, how much money they paying? Because I mean, I'm not using it right now. And if they paying right, if they play like they late,
That's a nice little penny, a nice
if they
little
pay like
nest
they
egg. Nice little nest egg.
shoot, if it's a nice, you talking about 50, I'm like, well, I don't know. It depends, because then you got worried about them going in there and harvesting anyway. You're like, oh Jesus. Then you putting some more faith in the U.S. medical system. And we know how the U.S. medical system can get sometimes. Just a little sometimes.
Yeah.
So I was like, if you're going to put the faith in the medical system, how much they going to pay me for my uteri? Because, I mean, like, I've had 3 children, and each pregnancy was basically the same. It gets horrible at the end, because that's, like, the end of the pregnancy. The only thing I enjoy about the end of pregnancy is that you can play tic-tac-toe with the baby and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, you can't play games with the baby until the baby's old enough to understand that you're playing with it and play back and, become an active participant in the games that you're playing with it. Until then, it's nothing. But at the end, right before you give birth, where you could high five the baby and the baby a high five back. You'd be like, high five, and the baby would press back like high five, and you'd be like, high five, and the baby press back again like high five. And then you rub your finger across the belly, and the baby will either rub his foot or his hand across the belly with you. And you're like, oh, okay, little baby, little biscuit, little snuggle-lugger. And they always get active right when you're sleeping, because that's when you wake them up. See, when you're walking around, you put the baby to sleep. But as soon as you sit down to relax, the baby like, oh, okay. And, they start getting up and start kicking and moving and playing footsie and stuff. Hey, you're back.
Yes, I'm back. No. You know what happened is, so my laptop froze. Oh. So on my screen, I was there. I'm sitting there, I'm listening actively. In fact, what I was doing was I was talking. I'm like, okay, I guess everyone's paused looking at stuff or whatnot. You know what happens? All right, cool. So I started answering to stuff something Christine said, right? And my husband comes tripping in, and I'm like, I'm looking at him all like, you made so much loud noise, like I'm on the street, babe, right? And he's like, he's motioning, and I'm like, okay, let me mute. I'm like, okay, well, great. Now the stream's gonna be silent, but fine. I'm like, what's up? And he's like, you're not on the stream. I was like, what? What do you mean I'm not on the stream? He's like, you're not here. And the funny thing is, I was in the chat, and when I looked up, I'm like, oh, I'm not on the stream. I'm not very observant. I apologize, y'all. There's a lot of talking that y'all didn't hear. It was priceless. Lost forever. But yeah. I was like, why is everyone so sad? Like, it's real quiet here. But okay, I'm not gonna let everyone fail. Okay, don't worry about it. I got this, y'all. Nope.
Yeah,
I apologize.
You fell out because you was in the middle of a sentence and then you fell out. So I was like, oh, well, let me jump in and start talking about babies.
See, there you go. Right? You gotta save the day.
You come to save the day.
Because I just jumped in and I was like, well, when you lay down, that's when the baby starts playing high five with you. Because, when you're pregnant at the end, the baby actually starts playing hand games with you and stuff like that, especially when you want to go to sleep.
See? That's what I'm saying. You got a parasite inside of you. See, Vonda said breakdancing. My parasite starts breakdancing. I'm showing up at my doctor's office. Yo, it's time for it to come out. It's not fully baked. Is it baked enough it can survive? Because someone needs to take it out. I'm taking it out myself. I'm not doing this. I need my sleep. Okay? Like, no, I'm telling you, pregnancy was not made for me. I already know.
Oh, no. See, that's the thing. At the end of the pregnancy, you can't get sleep. But if you get you a pregnancy pillow, you'll be able to get more sleep than you do when you get a newborn. Because when you get a newborn, that's when you can't get your sleep.
I'm sure.
Oh, Lord. No, I know. Listen, I only claim these children that I want, but I don't want to carry at all for the first 2 years of their lives until they say the word no anyway. Right? I'm supposed to sacrifice all that sleep, that happiness. I'm supposed to do all of this, go through all of this with you, and then you're gonna have the nerve to turn around when you start learning words and tell me no, and I'm supposed to let you live. See, this is what
No.
motherhood's not really suited for me. I just, like I said, I just want genetic legacy. That's it. Like maybe I should donate my eggs and just let someone else raise them, and then they can give birth to them, they can carry them, they can raise them, and I know my genes are out there somewhere living.
Because when you get a newborn, you got to feed the baby every 3 hours, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, every 3 hours.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. You want me to do all that sacrificing for your ass, and you're gonna turn around and tell me no. Me.
No.
Me. The one who
No.
fed you every 3 hours,
No.
despite my see?
No.
Right there. See that fourth no? That's it,
No.
you're dead now. That's it. Like there wouldn't be no more discussion. Who are you talking to?
You'd be like 11 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 5.
Yeah. Dude, like I don't do it. I'm telling you, what's gonna have to happen is while I'm sleeping, like, yo, there's breasts right here. You got them, right? But if someone doesn't bring the baby and physically put it on to them, I'm not sure how it's gonna eat because I'm sleeping. Like, yo, I'm telling you, I am sleeping. I do not wake up well. It's not even like I don't want to wake up. I do have an issue, and if I get into a deep sleep. So the only hope this kid has is that I never go into a deep sleep, period, until it starts sleeping through the night, because when I get into a deep sleep I don't wake up. Like, short of you physically lifting me out of bed and putting me on my feet and then letting go, so like my natural brain's reflexes wake me up to keep me from falling, I will stay sleeping. I will all open my eyes, I will touch things, I will do things to make whatever's bothering me go away, or I'll lie to you, I'll have conversations with you, but I'm still actually asleep and I have no memory of this. So much do I like when I'm finally sleeping, do I need to stay there. Which is why, like, when I say I'm like, no, I needed someone to wake me up, I physically sometimes need someone to wake me up. So I'm like, yo, listen, the breasts are right there. There's no problem. You just lie me on my back, you put the baby on the boob, it'll be good. Everyone lives. It'll be fine. I'm okay with that. He or she can drink in my sleep. That's fine. No problem. Just use me.
Y'all ready for the question?
Mm-hmm.
Do we think Offset was hacked?
Offset.
Now, the thing about it was a couple of like last month sometime or a month before that.
Mm-hmm.
Offset, this is the story. He's sticking to it. Okay. So Offset, ex-girlfriend who Cardi B was on her way to court case for, leaked messages from Offset that she received on her DM saying, that he missed her. The message was from Offset and it said, "I miss you." And that was all. And she leaked it like, we about to go to court and her husband's still trying to hit me up talking about he missed me. And about 20 minutes later, 30 minutes later, Cardi B and Offset said that he was hacked. And apparently the people who hacked him were the ones that actually sent that message. So somebody from Russia or whatever country that's doing the hacking hacked Offset's Instagram account just to send a message to his ex that he misses them.
No, I don't believe that.
No, but with that, I want to add, because I vaguely remember Lovely T covering this, and they added more. So it wasn't just the "I miss you," because of the "I miss you" and the leak and what. Then there was like a bunch of extra stuff that they did with his account or something. Like they went into his Facebook. So it's like that happened on Instagram, and then they went into his Facebook and then did extra stuff or something like that. Like they went into one of his other accounts and then did more crazy stuff. And then they came out, "Oh, we just woke up and yo, he must have got hacked in our sleep and stuff. And this is crazy, yo." And yo, yeah, I remember that vaguely. I don't remember what they did on the second account. And I remember them saying that this was all because of that original message. So we sent that original message.
On the other account, they were saying, "I like butt sex," and
yes,
I'm gay, and I like this. I think that was him. Trying to cover his tracks.
Yeah.
He got busted.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they all of a sudden you're gonna hack Offset, and instead of leaking anything about Cardi or him or anything like that, you're just gonna message his ex, tell him I miss you, and then say he like butt sex.
Right, butt sex. Like that was the only thing. Oh, because who came up with that was Cardi, right? Because this is her brilliance. Because this is the level she's able to be brilliant. Yo, say that you like butt sex or something. They will never believe that because they know that obviously you're into me, so therefore you must be into not butt sex, right? That's what happened. I swear to God. I know. Like there's no one hacked any like nobody hacked
Nobody
you.
hacked him.
Nobody hacked him.
Yeah.
If they hacked him, you know all the stuff they could have leaked. And you know they got all kind of nasty photos and everything else. I mean, come on. It's Cardi B. She got his inbox probably got all kind of STDs from her. You know what I'm saying? And all of a sudden they're gonna, I miss you. Let me hack Beyonce's phone so I can send messages to her ex.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, no. Definitely I don't. Definitely.
All right. Well, we are at the midnight hour. And I want to thank everyone for coming out. We had a great time. Hope we were enjoyable to you. I know you guys were laughing at us, but that's okay. We were laughing at ourselves. And this was our first.
Real quick though, before we go out, everybody out there, if you're a woman, watch your uterus.
All right. You heard it here first.
Mm-hmm.
This was our first Friday. Thank you for joining in with us and spending time with us. We appreciate it. And tomorrow we'll have a show. It'll be 7 p.m. Central. And on Saturdays we do 7 to 8:30. Come on by and join us. Have some fun, guys. And we'll have a couple of news articles or whatever we'll pick up on and chat about. And
And for
thank
the
you, though.
record,
Oh, go ahead.
I want to give a teaser. I'm going to give a teaser
Oh,
because
teaser? Okay.
my topic tomorrow is personal. It is in the news and it is personal. Ooh, y'all. Ooh, y'all. That's right. That's right. You're about to learn something personal about Ruby's life from the news. Oh, that's right. And y'all know I always cover some serious stuff. So it is worth y'all tuning in. It's worth y'all sharing it on social media. It's worth y'all letting everybody know to show up, to come be nosy, and find out what you're about to learn about Ruby's life from the news. Dun, dun, dun. I'm serious. I'm serious. It's not just like a fake teaser. You show up and be like, haha, I just wanted to show you that I like this article. Now you know Ruby likes these kinds of articles. No, it's for real. I'm being serious. Sure, Char knows. Char knows. I'm being for real. Yeah. See? That's what I'm saying. So y'all make sure y'all let everybody know. Y'all show up tomorrow with your nosy selves so that way y'all can come check it out. It's gonna be hot. I'm just saying. All right.
All right, ladies and gents, again, thank you for coming by and supporting us. We really appreciate it. And hope to see you all tomorrow.
All right. Cheers, y'all.
Peace.